Hey, it's Robert Stooks with hackingtraffic.com, and I want to show you a press hacking method that works really well. Now, imagine this. What if all of a sudden you could generate massive positive press on the biggest websites and even on the news for your clients or even your own business? And what if every time you did it, the results got bigger and better, landing you more press than billion-dollar companies, and that's a billion with a B. What if suddenly you had so many people interested in your services that you couldn't possibly take them all on? The referral business you get from getting major client exposure on the press is insane. Now, what if your tiny little company was in more demand in less than 2 weeks than any other company you've ever heard gurus bragging about in the past 6 years? Does that sound like a stretch to you? Well, I would probably think so too, but it happened to me. In 2009, I accidentally stumbled upon a method that got one of my clients more media exposure than the billion-dollar company that he worked as an expert consultant for. Yes, that was billion with a B. The thing that got me there was this simple 3-step method that was really shockingly easy and fast to do, but I realized 2 troubling things when it happened. 1, it actually worked a little bit too well. And 2, it made me a little nervous to know just how easy it is to hack the press into doing your own personal bidding. So why would I be troubled that, it works so well and so easy to do? Well, it's simple. I knew that if I could do these 3 steps, then almost anyone could, and it's true. Almost anyone can do this. So I started to pay very close attention to how stories are reported, both online and offline. Journalism on the web and in print and even on TV, it started to look very different to me. And I knew that I had stumbled onto something really powerful. And if that realization didn't quite give it away enough, the fact that my referral business from the client that I spoke about before, that certainly did. I repeatedly got calls from potential clients, each of them worth 5 figures apiece per year to my business, wanting me to do the same for them. So I started offering this service, but here's where the whole thing almost ended very badly because I got cocky and I got overconfident. I wanted to see if my 3-step process to get major media attention would work for what is to be the hardest possible kind of business to do this for, a used car lot. Can you imagine that? What major online or offline news publication would knowingly and willingly advertise a small town used car lot to their millions of readers? Well, as it turns out, after I was done with this experiment, plenty of them would. They just had to see things my way, right? I got the general manager of this used car dealership featured as an expert on a recent scandal involving shady used car lots using what's called ignition killers in the cars they sell. He talked about the reasons that he knew that car lots use these ignition killers. It made it easy to repossess cars when the customers didn't make their payments on time. He also talked about why he didn't use them. He felt they were invasive, the technology could be buggy, and it created an unhealthy us versus them environment between the dealership and the customer, which is not really a solid foundation to build repeat business on. The story broke nationwide, and this guy was immediately seen as one of the most ethical car salesmen ever. And I don't have to tell you how that will immediately boost sales in a business where public perception is that every used car salesman is out to get you. It was huge positive exposure, and he didn't have to be involved in the original story to ride the wave to massive publicity for his business. Now, before we get into the 3-step process I used, take a moment to absorb what just happened here. This guy, he wasn't involved in any way, shape, or form in that story before we took action. But by the time the story hit major media outlets, he was the expert on the pros and cons of this technology, and he had never even used it before. Of course, he was overjoyed with the exposure for his business and the huge amounts of positive attention that it grew. But now you know why the process made me a little bit nervous when I first started. This is really powerful. And as you can see, why once you do it for one client, your referral business is going to explode immediately. Once you get your first client featured as an expert in the news, you cannot get them to shut up telling anyone within earshot about it, even if you tried. And of course, that results in a massive tidal wave of referral business from their friends and their colleagues that want you to do the same for them. Ask anyone in the PR business. This stuff is addicting, and it works really, really well. In fact, it works better now than it did just a few years ago. Here, I'll prove it to you. Think back to the last time you looked at Facebook. What was it, 5 minutes ago? And you saw these endless articles being shared. How many times was any of these articles from Huffington Post, Jezebel, Gawker, Breitbart, Lifehacker, Consumerist, Business Insider, and sites like that? Almost all of the time. And the readership on those sites is massive, but that's a huge problem for them because they constantly need new stories to write about. Did you know that the average online journalist has to pump out between 8 and 14 articles per day? And they aren't paid by the word. They aren't paid by the article. They're paid by the number of page views that they create. They're under the gun to generate massive page views. That's a huge dilemma for them, but it's a massive tactical advantage for us. They need us more than we need them. Think about that for a moment. They need us more than we need them. They need fresh, interesting, compelling content all the time, not weekly or even daily, but hourly. That's where this 3-step formula comes in. It creates the triple win approach. A win for your client because they get major publicity for their business and even themselves. It's a win for the journalist because they get a hot story. And it's certainly a win for you. You get paid by your client, you get major referral business, and every journalist that you help out by doing this, that's a new ally in the press for you for the next time that you want to get publicity. This is why press hacking works so well, but only if you do it right. And to do it right, you have to follow a proven formula. And if you get it right, it's highly likely you'll never have to worry about client acquisition again. I certainly don't, because the referral business is going to beat down your door. Heck, you don't even need a website. You certainly don't need to be good at sales. I'm certainly not good at sales or good at writing, or have some fancy, expensive software. You just need the right 3-step formula to get it right. Here it is. Step 1, find the story. Now this is actually the fun part, but it's the part that almost everyone gets dead wrong, and here's why. They try to make their client the story. That's never going to work for 2 reasons. 1, it just smells like promotion, and hear me out here. The moment a journalist smells self-promotion, they're gone. They're gone forever. You're never going to get them back. And number 2, no matter what your client thinks or says or does, they're probably not all that interesting. Not interesting enough to be hot news, right? So that's why press hacking is not just some neat trick. It's absolutely essential. Here's how. Remember the car dealership manager I got massive positive exposure for? He had nothing to do with the ignition killer story. He didn't even use the devices. The story didn't even happen in the same state as his dealership. But we hacked the press to inject him into that story immediately. He's an expert at being a car dealer, therefore qualified to speak about why he didn't use the ignition killers. We rode the wave of what's looked at as a negative news piece, and we turned him into a hero immediately for doing absolutely nothing. And that's crazy awesome when you think about it. You should never make the story to get press about your client. Use press hacking to put your client into the expert limelight of a story that's about to break out. And then you ride that wave of press. Here's step 2. Alert the press, but not in the way you think. Almost everyone gets this wrong too, and that's really, really good news for us. Here's why. Normally, someone would shoot out a press release on PR Web or something like that and pay $100 to up to $700 for distribution. It's $100 for regular distribution, and it can be up to $700 or even $800 for what they call niche distribution. Press releases are fine. I use them a lot, but I use them a certain way. I don't use them like that, and I don't get distribution 99% of the time because it's dumb. Why? 1, it's like playing the lottery. In order to be picked up, your press release has to be seen and selected by a journalist that writes about that kind of a story. And when you consider that many, if not most, online journalists, they don't even scan the wire anymore. The odds of a journalist seeing your press release and then writes about that kind of a story is infinitely small. Because you remember, journalists, they're kind of nicheified themselves. There's investigative journalists, there's political journalists, there's entertainment journalists. So you have to wait for your press release to be seen by a journalist out of all the thousands of press releases that have been that day, if they happen to be looking at the wire. And then you got to cross your fingers that the right kind of journalist or blogger is going to actually see your press release, pick it out, study it, and decide to do an article about it. It's like playing the lottery. It's a spray and pray approach, and it will rarely, if ever, work. That's why I choose to laser in on the exact journalists that will meet these criteria. Number one, they're going to write the story that I want. It's not guaranteed, but it's pretty darn close because I guide them to write the kind of story that I want. Number two, they have the right audience that I want that story to be read by. And this is crucial because if the wrong people are reading the right article, it does you no good. Number three, have a big enough audience so it's worth my time to even contact them. Why waste hours talking to, someone that has a blog with 100 readers per month when you could be talking to someone from the Huffington Post that gets millions of views per day? When you take the guesswork out of the equation like that, press hacking becomes almost too easy, especially when you consider the power of step 3. Now, step 3 is go big or go home. Believe it or not, one of the largest sources of stories for journalists is, ta-da, other journalists. Here's how to use that to your advantage. It works like this. Let's say a local news team covers a story. Let's say a local news team covers your story, and it's very, very, very easy to get on a local story, right? It has national interest potential, and it soon gets picked up and written about by major publications across the globe. The key is in exploiting that behavior for our benefit. The key to getting these huge websites with millions of readers to give your client major publicity, it starts right in your own backyard or somebody else's backyard. It doesn't matter where the local story was broken. It just matters that it was broken. Once a smaller publication picks up that story, all it takes is a simple nudge to the right journalist at a large site to see it, and then it becomes big news. And the best part, all of this can be done within a few days, even a few hours at sometimes, for absolutely free, though you can outsource the stuff that you don't feel like doing if you want to. And now that you know what to do, I'm going to tell you exactly how to do it. And I'm going to tell you how to do it through a video train I made for you called Press Hacker System. I'm going to walk you step by step through the exact process I use to get massive free press coverage within a day, sometimes hours, so that you can get press coverage for your clients that will love paying for this service. And you can also enjoy having that tidal wave of referral business where you can even name your own price for future clients. Let's take a look at everything that I'm about to show you, okay? What we're going to do is you're going to see the back end of the hacking traffic members area, and there's a little bit of welcome here, and we'll go right into Press Hacker. And you can see that there's 8 modules in total. We'll go right into module 1, and you can see the video here. And module 1, we're going to go deeper into detail on why press hacking works so well, what you can do it for, and how you can help your clients and even charge your clients for this. Then we go over to module 2. Module 2 is where we get even deeper into stuff, where we get to how to get the scoop, how to get that story, where to find the stories that you can jump on right now. And there's stories each and every day. So let's say that your client is a dentist out of Dallas. Now, why in the heck would a major news publication talk about a Dallas dentist? Well, we're going to go into some really deep examples that are going to blow your hair back. Some of my favorites, and we actually used the Dallas dentist example. Module 3 is the process overview. This is the mile-high process of everything we do after that. So we've already got your client, we've already got them, we've already got the story, we've already talked to your client, we've already got the angle. Now we're going to go out and start getting the press on our side. Go into Module 4 here. Module 4 is where we do press releases the right way. Remember, we just talked about how to do press releases the wrong way. Press releases can be very, very effective if you do them the right way. And I'm here to tell you that paying $100, $200, $300, $700 to PR Web is not the right way. 99% of the time. Every once in a while I'll pay for distribution, but it's very few and far between, and we talk about that as well. Module 5, local news outlets. Remember, what we like to do is start small and work our way up. That's where we get the legitimacy of our story. We get it picked up by smaller news outlets, and then we use their legitimacy, we leverage them to step up to those larger networks. Module 6, finding bloggers. And in this course, I kind of take liberties with the words bloggers and journalists, because bloggers and journalists have almost become synonymous in some ways in modern online media. So when I say bloggers, it's not just like mommy bloggers or stuff like that. I'm also talking about legitimate journalists for legitimate online sites such as Fox News, CNN Money, Business Insider, stuff like that. This is all about finding the relevant blogger or journalist that's going to write the kind of story that we want to write. They have the readership, and they can get us in front of millions of people. Module 7, contacting journalists and bloggers. Now this is where the rubber really meets the road, and that's why a whole module is devoted to this, because if you screw this up, you're going to scare away a journalist and they'll never talk to you again. But if you get it right, not only are they going to write your story, they're going to write it the way that you want it to be written, and you have a powerful ally, because once they have a positive story from you, a story that gets nice page views for them, that's the win for them, and it gets nice exposure for your client, you have an in, you have that ally in the press now, to where you can bring, the next time you have a story that's right up their alley, you already have the intro, you've already talked to them, you've already done something for them, so they'll definitely give back to you. This is crucial. And Module 8 is in closing, and this is where we leave off some final thoughts, and I tell you a little bit more about this stuff and how to do some things going forward. And it's I kind of put in everything in Module 8 that didn't quite fit into other modules. Now you can have this right now for one payment of $99 or two payments of $69 if you want to split the payments up. I have a timer up at the top of the page. I'm not going to sell this for very long, and I'm not doing that to be mean. I'm really just doing that because a lot of people knew what I was doing, or a few people knew what I was doing and wanted me to share how I was doing it. So I started to make this course, and I said, you know what, the people on my list, I will give them the chance to grab this for 2 days. So today is Wednesday, and by Friday, this thing's going to be gone forever. Okay, so the timer is up at the top of the page. Video's going away forever. If you want to get into press hacking with me, just click one of the links below. It's either $99 for a one-time fee or $69 times 2. That's $69 today and $69 within 30 days. And join me on the inside. We're going to be doing some cool stuff. I'm going to be setting up a mastermind Facebook group where I'm actually going to be sharing some of the things that I'm doing, so you can not only learn by seeing what I say, hey, this is what I do, but I'm also going to be showing, hey, this is what I've done. This is the actual news release that I've done. This is the news that I'm getting for this client. This is the news that I'm getting for this project and stuff. And I'm really excited to kind of share this stuff, because let's face it, I can't share this stuff like openly on Facebook and have, every one of my friends, and it just spreads out and everyone sees this stuff. So I want to keep this kind of hidden in, and I wanted to offer this to people that have bought from me before, people that are on my list. So I'm looking forward to see you in there. If you got any questions, hit me up at support@hackingtraffic.com. This has been Robert Stukes with Hacking Traffic. I'll talk to you later. See you on the inside.